And now, ladies and gentlemen, from the heart of the Inland Empire, right here in sunny Southern California, it's Robert Cardoza Live, where we talk about politics, money, and you. This is the intersection of business and politics. And now here's your host, Robert Cardoza.
And welcome aboard. I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. And as always, we have got a phenomenal show for you today. So you know what? We might as well just get right to it and not waste any more time. I want you to know that at 3:01 p.m. Pacific time, it is currently 90 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. Well, it's going to go down to about 61 degrees, so that'll be quite comfortable. But right now, I want you to hear a little bit about the news. There's lots of it going on. I've encapsulated the top 10 things so that you'll know what's happening in the world, and then we'll get to a little more in-depth news. All right, after that, these are the 10 things that you need to know for Wednesday today, your daily look at late-breaking news, upcoming events, and the stories that will be talked about all day today and probably tomorrow as well. First up, Trump sparks another political firestorm. He says Second Amendment advocates might find a way to stop Hillary Clinton from rolling back gun rights if she's elected, and Democrats accuse him of encouraging violence against his opponent. And Baltimore police face withering criticism. The city's officers routinely discriminate against blacks, use excessive force, and aren't adequately disciplined for misconduct, a federal investigation concludes. Well, computer outage could tarnish Delta's on-time rep. Delta had an impressive record, envied by other airlines, until the system-wide outage caused the cancellation of more than 1,500 flights. Well, Phelps adds 2 more goals. Michael Phelps wins the 200-meter butterfly and anchors the United States 4x200-meter freestyle relay to victory at the Rio Olympics, giving him the 20th and 21st gold medals of his career. I mean, this guy is just unbelievable, isn't he? This has got to be his swan song, I'm thinking, but, you know, who knows? Now, I thought the last 4 years ago was. Anyway, who's cozying up to dear friend Putin? Well, Turkey's President Erdogan visits Russia, sending a message to his allies in the West, whom he blames for what he considers a lack of support after a failed coup. I should say. Well, foes of Venezuela's president suffer a setback. Election officials set a timetable for a recall petition against Nicolas Maduro that makes a vote unlikely for this year. And slayings reinforce female runners' fears. The killings of 2 women who had gone running in New York City and rural Massachusetts have helped explain why untold numbers avoid working out alone at night or in secluded places. Boy, I mean, isn't that just common sense? You shouldn't be working out alone, and you shouldn't be in secluded places anyhow, especially if you're a woman. Well, how Facebook is smoothing the path for advertisers. The social network giant announces plans to block ad blockers on the desktop version of its service, saying well-made, relevant ads can be useful. Yeah, it's be profitable too. And infant's death in Texas linked to the Zika virus. The baby girl was born with microcephaly. Her mother had traveled to El Salvador while pregnant. And why boys got band back together. Justin Timberlake and the other members of NSYNC reunite for one night at least for fellow bandmates J.C. Chase's 40th birthday bash. Well, you know what? Happy birthday, I should say, Mr. Chase. Now, let's talk about some more in-depth news that's going on in the world today. Let's talk about Donald Trump's primary playbook is leading him out of bounds. Boy, you can say that again. In the 2016 presidential campaign, it's long been an article of faith. The rules of political gravity don't apply to Donald Trump. Maybe now they do. After winning state after state while bouncing between controversies in the GOP primaries, Trump is still stumbling on the stump. His latest unforced mishap, an offhand remark that critics quickly slammed as a suggestion that gun rights backers should take a literal shot at Hillary Clinton should she win the White House. But rather than continuing to float above the criticism, Trump is losing ground in preference polls and alienating prominent Republicans by the day. Even some of his supporters worry Trump's lack of a filter is hurting his White House chances, a concern they say has only grown in recent weeks. You'd think it would be pretty simple for a grown man to keep his mouth shut sometimes, said Seth Walls, 18 years old, a landscaper from White Top, Virginia, who attended his first Trump rally on Wednesday. These Twitter rants and things he does in the media, I definitely think it's hurting him. Well, you can say that again, it's hurting him. But you know what? There's a part of me that is not so sure that that's not by design. Give that some thought. Well, scathing report on Baltimore cops vindicates black residents. With startling statistics, a federal investigation of the Baltimore Police Department documents in 164 single-spaced pages what black residents have been saying for years. They are routinely singled out, roughed up, or otherwise mistreated by officers, often for no reason. The 15-month Justice Department probe was prompted by the death of Freddie Gray, the black man whose fatal neck injury in the back of a police van touched off the worst riots in Baltimore in decades. To many people, the blistering report issued today was familiar reading, actually. Danny Morrow, a retired food service worker, said that over the years he has been stopped and hassled repeatedly by police. It started when I was 8 years old, and they'd say, with no probable cause, "Hey, come here. Where are you going?" He said, no cause, just the color of my skin. Bullies in the workplace, he said, they don't want you to get angry or challenge their authority, so they'll use force. They'll put the handcuffs on too tight, and if you run, they're going to beat you up when they catch you. Well, go figure. Isn't that the way things should be? Give that some thought. I think it's just horrible. Anyway, the police say a woman was killed by a Florida officer in an academy exercise. A police shoot-don't shoot demonstration in Florida went shockingly awry when an officer shot and killed a 73-year-old former librarian with what police said was real ammunition used by mistake at an event designed to bring police and the public together. I don't think that worked out so well. Anyway, authorities didn't immediately say how a gun with live round came to be used in Tuesday evening's demonstration, noting blank rounds are typically used in such classes, I guess. Anyway, the officer has been placed on administrative leave, and the Florida Department of Law Enforcement is investigating. We were unaware that any live ammunition was available to the officer, Punta Gorda Police Chief Tom Lewis said at a news conference just today. The officer involved is grief-stricken. We've got officers assigned to him to make sure he's psychologically stable. Well, I guess, go figure. But I mean, how does a professional make a mistake like that? I don't get it. Wouldn't you think that they would at least check? Well, the new report will fuel debate over closing Guantanamo prison. A new report on Guantanamo detainees tells the stories of former Al-Qaeda bomb makers and bodyguards, as well as low-level militant cooks and medics who have been transferred or cleared for release despite fears that they are at risk of returning to battle. Many of the detainees have been held without charge for more than 14 years at the military prison President Barack Obama wants to close. The Pentagon gave the unclassified report to Senator Kelly Ayotte, a Republican from New Hampshire, who has been pushing the Obama administration for years to be more transparent about who is being transferred out of the prison at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. She shared it with the Associated Press and posted it online today. By clearly detailing some of the disturbing terrorist activities and affiliations of detainees at Guantanamo, the report demonstrates why these terrorists should not be released. They pose a serious risk to our national security, Ayotte said in an email response to questions. Now, do not go away, because when we come back, we've got more news for you. We're going to talk about a former Somali refugee is on the brink of a Minnesota state house. I'll tell you all about that right after these brief messages. Don't go away. Got a lot of great show for you.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, you know Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchase high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. And we're talking news. You know what? A former Somali refugee is on the brink of a Minnesota state house. You know, Ilhan Omar spent 4 years in a Kenyan refugee camp as a young girl, fleeing with her family from civil war in Somalia. 2 decades later, after forging a new life in Minnesota, she appears on the brink of becoming the nation's very first Somali-American state legislator. Omar, a 33-year-old community activist, cried as she delivered victory speeches in English and Somali after defeating a 44-year incumbent in the latest sign of the Somali community's growing influence in the city and state. Her victory in a heavily Democratic Minneapolis district makes her a strong favorite in the general election. Tonight, we made history, Omar told supporters after her win late Tuesday night. Now, tonight marks the beginning of the future of our district, a new era in representation. Well, you know what? Great. I think it's fantastic. I absolutely think it is absolutely fantastic. That's the way it ought to be. That's the way it should be. That's just, and that's, you know what? And that's the way it is. What the hell? You know, here's one for you. The latest, Japan's Uchimura wins gymnastics all around. I don't know if you guys have been watching the Olympics, but man, they have been absolutely phenomenal. In this case, the latest on the 2016 Summer Olympics in Rio de Janeiro, Kohei Uchimura gold medal haul keeps growing. The superstar gymnast from Japan won the man's all-around title today, edging Oleg Vernachev by less than a tenth of a point to capture his second straight Olympic title. Uchimura trailed heading into the final rotation, but put up a dazzling 15.8 on a high bar. Vernachev followed with a less challenging routine and hopped forward on the dismount. Needing a 14.9 to win, Vernachev instead earned a 14.8. The crowd groaned when the score was revealed, though Vernachev shrugged his shoulders as if to say, well, what can you do? Max Whitlock of Great Britain was third, just ahead of Russia's David Belosyevsky. You know what? How wonderful is that? The United States women's field hockey team advanced to the Olympic quarterfinals after defeating Japan 6-1. Melissa Gonzalez scored on a penalty corner 21 seconds into the match to set a tone on the rally. This actually was, I was going to say this evening, but that's because the time change is going on. Katie Bam scored the very first of her 3 goals 4 minutes later. You know what? If you haven't had a chance to watch the Olympics, this is the time. It's more exciting than I thought it was going to be. And U.S.-backed Libyan forces take over the Islamic State headquarters in Sirte. U.S.-backed Libyan forces said today that they have taken over the Islamic State group's headquarters in Sirte, the militants' final bastion in Libya, breaking a weeks-long stalemate with the help of United States airstrikes. The fighters said that they had seized control of the sprawling convention center that was used as the Islamic State's headquarters in the coastal city. The fighters, who were mainly from the nearby city of Misrata, launched their offensive against IS in June. They also said that they had seized the city's main hospital on Ibn Sina from the Islamic State militants. A statement posted on the force's Facebook page declared that Sirte is returning to Libya. Well, congratulations, folks. It's, anytime you can beat ISIS, it's a good time. That's what I think. Well, here's one for you. A boy was decapitated on a water slide at a Kansas park. This is just sad. The 10-year-old boy, killed during a ride in the world's tallest water slide, was decapitated in the accident, a person familiar with the investigation said just today. The person who spoke on condition of anonymity, because the person was not authorized to speak publicly, gave no other details of how Caleb Schwab died Sunday on the raft ride at the Schlitterbahn Water Park in Kansas City, Kansas. Authorities have yet to explain how it happened. 2 women who were not family members were in the raft at the time with the boy and were treated for facial injuries. The boy's parents, Republican State Representative Scott Schwab and his wife Michelle, have requested privacy and have not spoken publicly since the death. His funeral is scheduled for Friday. A spokesman for the water park today declined to discuss the circumstances of the boy's death on the ride called Verrückt, or German for insane. Well, you can say that again. Insane, and sad, and tragic. What else could you possibly say about an accident like that at a water park? Oh my goodness. Well, a man using suction cups tries to scale the 58-story Trump Tower. A man began scaling the all-glass facade of Trump Tower today using large suction cups. The climber had a backpack and used a harness and rope, stirrups to fasten himself to the side of the 58-story Manhattan skyscraper. He appeared to be at least 10 stories up and still climbing Wednesday evening, remembering that it's 3 hours later there than it is here in California. Now, police officers smashed windows and broke through the ventilation duct in an attempt to block his progress. Officers also lowered themselves toward him using window washers platform. The climber played a slow-motion cat and mouse game with the officers, eluding them by methodically working his way across the facade and angled corners of the building. He was speaking with officers through the holes cut in the side of the building. When would-be rescuers smashed a window above him, he ducked to avoid being big shards of glass that fell. Police deployed large inflated crash pads at the scene, but made no visible attempt to grab him as he passed their positions. Wow. Can you imagine that? Well, in any event, don't go away. When we come back, we've got some great news for you. We're going to talk about the IRS loses. And the first case here is the IRS cannot reject papers as being late when they were on the agent's desk all the time. I'll tell you all about it right after these brief messages. Please don't go away. We've got a lot of great show for you today.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make the interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios, Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39. A complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
The story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 3:24 p.m. Pacific time, currently 91 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. Well, that's down from 96 degrees on its way to a wonderful 61 degrees. But if you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you're in New York City, well, it's 86 degrees and it's mostly cloudy. And if you're in Chicago, Illinois, it's 89 degrees with scattered clouds. But right now, what I think you want to hear about is the IRS loses. We've got some cases for you that I think you're going to find really interesting and neat. And the first one is that the IRS cannot reject papers as being late when they weren't even on the agent's desk. Get this. During the IRS's appeals hearing, an IRS agent asked the taxpayer to submit a package of papers by July the 31st, and this was back in 2002. Now, he didn't receive them by that date, but they were delivered on August the 8th. Now, on August the 12th, he sent out a notice rejecting the appeal because the package had been late. Well, this is what the judge actually had to say about that. The package had been delayed to the post-9/11 postal security procedures and included a note from the Postal Service saying just exactly that. Now, the postmark on it needed to prove the timely mailing was illegible. In light of that, and the fact that it was on the agent's desk when he rejected the appeal, it was an abuse of discretion for him to actually do so. So the appeal actually went through. Here's another case for you, though. The IRS loses. Tax court absolutely can hear a new evidence about an innocent spouse claim. A woman sought relief from liability for a tax bill that her husband had incurred on his business income. The IRS denied it, saying that she had known the tax had been owed and was still married to her husband. When she went to tax court, the IRS claimed the court could not consider any new evidence that the IRS hadn't already considered. Well, here's the deal. Here's what the judge said. The tax court can always consider new evidence when determining the amount of a deficiency, as it does in innocent spouse cases, to reach a judgment on the full merits rather than just the IRS record. And here, on the full merits, the wife had an especially strong case for relief. And so, you got it. She gets it. Well, let me give you one last one here. The IRS loses. Reporting too much income is not tax fraud. Here's the thing. A woman filed late tax returns for several years in preparation for a bankruptcy filing. She mistakenly included her unmarried live-in companion's income on those returns. The IRS then objected that she had filed false returns, so her taxes were not dischargeable. Well, this is what the bankruptcy court said. The IRS proposition that including an income on a tax return by a taxpayer which is not the taxpayer's income, but someone else's, is tantamount to filing a false return defies credulity. Clearly, to do so is asinine and stupid, but that is not a hallmark of any taint of fraud, since the person who is harmed by this action is not the government, but the taxpayer. So, the IRS objection, you got it, is dismissed, which is exactly what should take place. Should have taken place. Should never have even got there, for gosh sakes. Well, you've heard me say it many times. Wouldn't you love to be a fly on the wall when the IRS is doing stuff? That's where we're at now with this segment that we call Inside the IRS. Very much like the Twilight Zone. Okay, so these are not actually tax court cases, but these are precedents and things that the IRS is doing that if you're aware of them, sometimes you can actually use them to your advantage, and just by having the knowledge of these things. And so that's kind of where we're at right now. Did you know that, you ever wonder, can you claim additional damages to compensate for the income taxes that you're going to be required to pay on a damage award that you receive? Given it any thought? Well, listen to this. So just suppose that you sue for damages for lost profits, and let's just say you worked overtime and were not paid for the extra hours. Let's just use that as the deal. And let's just say you win. The lost profits award is taxable, so you argue that you should also receive enough to cover the tax hit. Now, the losing party is going to argue that you would have had to pay the income tax on the profits anyway, so you're not entitled to extra damages. There's no easy answers to this, and this is an emerging area of civil law. State law varies, and the nature of the damages are going to control whether you are permitted to ask for the extra tax damages. So, the best advice I can give is discuss this issue with your attorney before actually initiating the suit. You know, you can't add to it later on. So just know what you're doing in the beginning to make sure you're not making any mistakes. Don't want to try and represent yourself in this case. Well, what about this? Let's just say you were audited and the IRS wants to reopen your case. I can tell you it happens a lot. Only in very unusual circumstances will the IRS attempt to re-audit an individual or a business after the case has been closed. Now, to reopen a closed case, the IRS must show that there was actual fraud or malfeasance, concealment, or misrepresentation of a material fact on your part, or an important mistake in mathematical calculations. So how should you proceed if the IRS wants to reopen your case? Don't agree to submit to another audit until the IRS provides you with a copy of its proof that there was fraud, concealment, and all the rest of the stuff that we talked about. But be really careful. This is a situation that could lead to criminal charges, so be sure to retain an experienced attorney to represent you, even if your accountant handled that first audit. This isn't something for an accountant to handle. You want a competent attorney to handle this, a tax attorney especially, that knows what's going on. Now, do not go away, because when we come back, I'm going to tell you about how to get Uncle Sam to help pay for your continuing education. I'll do that rest of these brief messages. Do not go away.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, & Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, & Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, & Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, & Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 3:34 p.m. Pacific time. It is still 91 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California, down from 96 degrees on its way to 61. And if you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you're in Paris, France, well, it's 54 degrees and it's clear. And in Rome, Italy, it's 70 degrees and partly cloudy. You know what? Good weather everywhere, it looks like, huh? But right now, I want to give you a tip. I want to tell you how to get Uncle Sam to help pay for your continuing education. Sometimes not so easy, sometimes not so difficult. The tax code treats education kindly. Section 529, college savings plans, for example, have become familiar to parents and grandparents of college-bound youngsters. Inside 529 accounts, investments earnings aren't taxed And there may be no tax on withdrawals at least the same amount is spent, if at least the same amount is spent on beneficiaries' higher education in the same year. Now, beyond 529 plans, tax benefits for education don't stop there by a long shot. Even when you're out of school, the IRS may give you a hand in paying for your ongoing learning. There's some write-offs while you work. If your employer requires you to take a course and you're not reimbursed, you can deduct your expenses. Outlays will not be deducted or deductible if the course is taken to meet the minimum education requirements of your employer. It's got to be an ongoing thing. Now, there's some option plays here, though. Even if you sign up for a class that's not required by your employer, unreimbursed outlays may be deductible. Now, what's required? Such a course must help you stay current in or to help advance you in your present career. Here's an example of that. Let's just say that if you're an executive, the money that you pay to take management or computer science courses at a local college probably will be deductible because such courses are likely to help you in your career, which means that you'll make more money and the government gets more taxes. There's a trap here, though. A course that you take that prepares you for a new career will not generate deductible expenses. The IRS's position, if you are an employee, a change of duties that involves the same general kind of work is not a new trade or business. Now, you need to take a look at publication 970. That's tax benefits for education. And you can get that at www.irs.gov. Now, let me give you an example of that, though. Let's just say you're an executive who goes to law school at night. Law school prepares you for a new career as a lawyer. So the money you pay will not be deductible. Now, that'll be true even if you don't intend to practice law but are taking the course to learn some legal fine points that'll help you do your current job better. What counts to the IRS is whether you could use the course as preparation for a new career. So what's allowed? Suppose that you're taking a course that improves your current job skills but does not prepare you for a new career. You can deduct the costs of tuition and fees. When the course is deductible as a career booster, you also can write off outlays for books and supplies. If you travel to the course from your job, you can deduct the corresponding travel expenses. Now, just remember that whatever the current rate might be, I think it's like 54 cents an hour, 57 cents an hour right now. You get all of that. And that's the rate that you could use for taking your car from work to the job-related course. Now, if you pay your way to attend an out-of-town seminar, the courses are going to be deductible if the trip was primarily for education, as long as the classes will help you in your current career. That's the big deal here. Now, how about trouble on your tax return? Well, even though the education-related costs mentioned before are tax deductible, you might have difficulty actually getting any tax savings. Why? If you're an employee, such outlays are considered unreimbursed employee business expenses, and those expenses in turn are going to fall into the category of miscellaneous itemized deductions on Schedule A of your tax return. So the hurdle is miscellaneous deductions are deductible only to the extent that they exceed 2% of your adjusted gross income. So here's an example of that. Let's just say your adjusted gross income this year is $100,000 and all of your miscellaneous deductions total $3,200. The first $2,000 of your miscellaneous itemized deductions is not deductible, so you can deduct only $1,200. If your miscellaneous deductions total, say, $1,900, well, no deductions are going to be allowed. So here's a trap. Miscellaneous itemized deductions are not allowed at all when calculating your alternative minimum tax obligation. Now, under the AMT, you won't be able to write off any educational expenses that you incur as an employee, no matter how the total compares with your AGI. So there is some soul satisfaction here, though. There are some strategies that might help you take education-related deductions. Here's an example of that. Let's just say that you're an employee and you're not subject to the alternative minimum tax. To take deductions for qualifying tuition, fees, books, supplies, and travel, try to bunch your education outlays with prepayments of deductible items or delayed payments where at all possible. Now, bunching such payments into every other year might help you build up sufficient miscellaneous deductions to go over that 2% of adjusted gross income hurdle that every other year, instead of itemizing education costs. Now, check eligibility for the tuition and fees above the line deduction. And there's also a self-employed solution. If you're self-employed, you can deduct qualified education outlays on Schedule C of your tax return, even if you're only incidentally or casually self-employed. Those expenses may be deductible if you file a Schedule C to report some self-employment income. So here's an example of that. Let's just say that you have a full-time job, but you also earn $10,000 a year as a consultant. You pay $3,000 for a computer course that will enhance your skills when you consult for clients. That $3,000 can be taken as a deduction on Schedule C that you file to report your consulting income. Now, there's a loophole here, too. Taking education deductions on Schedule C permits tax savings without having to contend with that 2% of adjusted gross income issue. Now, there's a big bonus here. You can reduce your business income with these deductions, even if you are subject to the AMT. So these are big pluses for you here. Now, how about when credit is due? Well, you know what? Another possibility for education-related tax relief is to take a lifetime learning credit. What's required? You must pay for the post-high school course given at an accredited institution. The course must be either part of a degree program or taken to acquire or improve job skills. Now, take note, the IRS does not further narrow down eligible types of study. So take a look at IRS publication 970, that's tax benefits for education. Now, if the education qualifies, you may get a 20% credit on the money that you spend for outlays up to $10,000 per year. Maximum tax savings of that, about $2,000 a year. Now, there's also income limits. For the maximum tax credit, your adjusted gross income with minor modifications must be less than $47,000, $94,000 if it's a joint return, and up to $57,000 adjusted gross income, $114,000 on a joint return. You can also get a partial tax credit. Well, assessing the alternative of tax, those otherwise eligible for lifetime learning credit were able to use it last year, even if they were subject to the AMT that year. But that tax break has expired. Now, unless the provision's renewed for subsequent years, and it most likely will be, you're not going to be able to take that credit if you pay the AMT. So take note, you can't use the lifetime learning credit to offset expenses that you're claiming as a deduction. So that pretty much takes care of all that. We're running a little bit ahead of the game. I don't know how that happened. I want to take this opportunity then to remind you that we would encourage you to get our app. Just go to your app store, whether that be Android or Windows. You can go to googleplay.com, or if you have an iPhone, you can go to the iPhone App Store and just search Robert Cardoza Live. The app is right there. It is absolutely free. Download it, put it on your phone, put it on your iPad, put it on your computer, and you can listen to us live if we're broadcasting live like we are now, or you can listen to us at your own convenience. All of our shows are right there. They're listed. There's a description of what's on the show, and you can listen to them at your own leisure. You know what? We just think that's the best way to listen to our show, because we're on so many different stations worldwide. It's the easiest way. The internet is getting to be the way to listen to our radio show. You know what? I'd also like you to tell all your friends about that, and help us out. Let's get some more listeners. They probably don't know about what's going on. If you enjoy the show, they probably enjoy the show too. And if you get that app, they're going to appreciate it. You're going to appreciate it. You know what? I'm going to appreciate it too. Very much. So, having said that, I'm going to take a short break. When we come back, I am going to answer your emails, and the very first email that I've got sitting out there is going to be about tax-free home gain. I received an email actually from Riley Tovar from Auburn, Washington, asking about this. So I'll answer that as soon as we return from these brief messages. Please don't go away. I've got a lot of great show for you.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make The Interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios, Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39, a complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 3:48 p.m. Pacific time. It's still 91 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. But if you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you're in London, England, well, it's 84 degrees and clear. I want my good buddy Don Armstrong to know that. He is on his way to England right now. He's picking up a cruise ship on Friday and doing a nice cruise. So, Don, I want you to know that the weather is really nice. Well, at least if you're in London. I think you're going to be in Southampton, but it should be wonderful anyway this time of year. If you're in Vienna, Austria, it's 55 degrees with scattered clouds. So we want you to know all those things. Now, let's talk about the emails. We've got a number of them for you today. My first one, as I mentioned before, comes from Riley Tovar from Auburn, Washington, asking about tax-free home gain, and writes, my fiance and I own highly appreciated homes. Can we sell one for $500,000 of tax-free gain immediately after we get married, and then after 2 years do the same with the other to take a $1 million tax-free gain in 2 years? Well, you know what? I'll tell you, Riley. A single person can sell a home for tax-free gain of up to $250,000 if he or she owned the home and used it as a primary residence for 2 of the prior 5 years. Now, for a married couple, tax-free gain is up to $500,000, and only one spouse must meet the 2 of 5 year ownership test. But both must meet the 2 of 5 year residency test. Now, to sell the home immediately after marrying for $500,000 of tax-free gain, you and your spouse must have lived in it for 2 years prior to your being married. Otherwise, you'll have to wait 2 years after you marry to make the first sale. You would then have to live in the second home for 2 years before you could sell that. But the answer to your question, based on that criteria, is absolutely yes, you can. And that's the good news. Well, next email comes from Ben Valador from Brookings, South Dakota, asking about business banking, and says, I have a small sideline business and have run its funds through my personal bank account since opening a separate account for it never seemed worth the bother. Now I've been told that this is asking for trouble with the IRS. Have I broken the tax law? Well, you know what, Ben? No, you haven't. There's no strict legal requirement that a business proprietor have a separate bank account for a business, but it is highly recommended that business funds be segregated in a separate bank account. There's 2 reasons for this. First, it makes business record keeping much easier, especially for if you get into an IRS audit issue. And also, if the IRS questions whether the sideline is a real business or merely a personal hobby or avocation that's not entitled to the business deductions, a separate bank account for it is part of a business-like set of records, and it's evidence to support your business status. So that's kind of where you're at with that. Hopefully that answers your question. Next email comes from Matt Benavides from Waterloo, New Hampshire, asking about retiring abroad, and writes, if I retire abroad in a low-tax country, will I reduce the taxes I owe on income earned from my U.S. bank and investment accounts? Well, you know what, Matt? For U.S. citizens, the rules for paying U.S. taxes and filing income, estate, and gift tax returns are generally the same whether you're residing in the United States or abroad, and whether your assets are held in the United States or abroad. Now, U.S. citizens owe U.S. tax on all income earned worldwide. Now, there is an exclusion for income earned up to $85,700 by U.S. citizens working abroad, but it does not apply to investment income. So, retiring abroad to a low-tax country generally is not going to reduce your U.S. tax. However, details may vary in specific situations or be affected by U.S. tax treaties with other countries. So, take a look at IRS Publication 54. That's Tax Guide for U.S. citizens and resident aliens abroad, and that should help you get the information that you need. Now, my last email comes from Malachi Butler from Chester, Pennsylvania, asking about funeral expenses, and says, I know that funeral expenses are deductible, but I can't find where to deduct them on the deceased individual's final tax return. Where do I deduct them? You know what? Here's a good question. You may not like the answer, though, on this, Malachi, and that is funeral expenses cannot be deducted on any individual's income tax return. Funeral expenses are deductible on an estate tax return, but this saves tax only if the estate's large enough to owe estate tax, and that's going to have to be more than $3 million. So kind of keep that in mind as you're doing these things. Well, you know what? We've come to the end of this segment. We're getting ready to go on a short commercial break. When we come back, we're going to be with our own Joel Saltzman, Dr. Wireless. Joel is going to have all kinds of information for us regarding new wireless technology and what's going on in the world, the deals that are out there and available to you. So you're not going to want to miss any part of that. Joel is just a really, really articulate man, and just, you know what? He has helped more people than I can even imagine. He's got a website. He's on Facebook. He's got things that are available to you ahead of time. And you know what? It doesn't cost you anything to talk to Joel. And if he can't save you money, he's not going to charge you anything. It's just going to be taken care of that way. So just keep that in mind. We're getting ready. Let's see here. Matter of fact, we're getting ready to go on that break right now. So let's take a short break. When we come back, we ought to have Joel Saltzman, Dr. Wireless, with us. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchase high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 3:58 p.m. Pacific time. It's currently 91 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. That's on its way down to 61 degrees. And if you're listening to us on our syndicated global network and you happen to be in Wichita, Kansas, well, it's 93 degrees with scattered clouds. And if you happen to be on the sand, on a surfboard in Torrance, California, making all that noise, it's 77 degrees and clear. And that's where our own Dr. Wireless, Joel Saltzman, is. Hey, Joel, you sitting out there?
Sorry to be so noisy, Robert. That would be me.
Are you dragging your surfboard? Is that what I'm hearing?
Dragging my chair, unfortunately. It's a little squeakier than usual. And thanks for the wake-up call. My watch was 15 minutes slow.
Oh, my.
So I'm glad you chimed in. I was wondering why I walked into my network meeting at 7 this morning, and I was one of the last people to get there, and I'm usually one of the first people. So I figured everybody got there earlier than me, and I realized when you called me that my watch was 15, 20 minutes slow.
A man with all of this state-of-the-art technology. Boy, I'm never going to let you forget it.
Well, I normally wear a GPS watch, which is electronic, and I guess I don't know if it's quartz or whatever, but it's always on time. And I put on my automatic yesterday, and for some reason, I guess I didn't shake it enough or whatever. But
well, you know what?
Embarrassing.
I've got a watch, a very expensive watch that I only wear for really special occasions, right? But it's one of those that it's self-winding, and it's not electric. It's self-winding, and so I bought one of these things that automatically winds that watch every 3 minutes or so. It does, so many times it turns the watch around. But what I still forget to put batteries in that doggone thing. As far as the thing that's supposed to get the watch going. So when I go to wear the watch, it's usually stopped sometime, and I got to bring it up to date anyway.
Hey, when that happens. Well, we got all kinds of exciting stuff today. Always a lot going on, as you know. We are going to talk about security, and I'm sure you've received a couple of Apple updates since we last spoke. They pushed out 9.3.3, and I had just barely loaded that one 2 days ago, and I got 9.3.4 this morning.
Yep, yeah, me too. Is that because Apple's being attacked?
Yes. Yes and no. Well, yes and yes, I guess we could say. What happened is, and I don't know if you saw it, but there was a huge problem with Google.
Yes.
Did you hear about that? Over almost 1 billion Androids can be compromised. I think we may have touched on that last time.
Yeah.
But apparently what's going on is the bad guys have figured out a way to attach malware to photos. So if you download the wrong photo, your device can be remotely taken over. So that's the big fear, and it's a huge fear with Android for a number of reasons, one of which you've got a dozen different manufacturers of the Android product. So it makes it a little more complex when it's time to fix a problem. With Apple, you got one manufacturer, Apple. You got one iOS. You don't have any of that bloatware or other carrier stuff. It looks like the problem with Android is not actually with the iOS, the Google iOS. It appears to be a problem with the Qualcomm chipset. So that means Google can't do anything about it. It's all about their vendor, their equipment manufacturer, who's making these chipsets for these dozen brands. And that's why we have almost 1 billion phones that are compromised.
Wow.
And don't hold your breath for a patch to get pushed out. And, several people were asking me the difference between Apple and Android, and why Apple product is almost twice as much in cost. And I told them my quick answer is because it's worth it.
Yeah. the three most important words in the English language, or any language, is worth it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And one of the reasons is when there is an issue, Apple jumps all over it. So about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3, there was a scare, and it became apparent that there was a vulnerability with Apple, and they immediately jumped on it. They pushed out a patch, which supposedly fixed it. So I received this new patch this morning. You know me. Yep. I don't care if Apple tells me you got to do this, it's going to save your phone. I'm not doing anything until I Google search it and investigate it and see what this patch is for.
Right.
And apparently there was the only fix that I could see that they want to do correct is there's a couple of jailbreak companies that specialize in unlocking these iPhones so you can do more stuff. And Pangu is one of them. And the other one begins with a T. The name is escaping me. It's a 4-letter word, TAG or something like that. But apparently there's 2 companies who have successfully finally been able to crack the iOS 9.1, and have been able to jailbreak these phones. And what that means is you can use apps that are not in the Apple, that are not authorized or in Apple's store. And some of these apps are wonderful, but at the same time, by doing this, you're subjecting yourself to greater risk. Because if Apple is not endorsing it, then it hasn't been tested by Apple, and there could be malware. So I always tell people, tread cautiously if you're planning on doing one of these unlocks or jailbreaks. But from what I can tell, Robert, I don't think there's anything that Apple was trying to accomplish with this 9.3.4 other than to relock all these phones that were jailbroken by these companies.
But the problem with that is that even if you know that, like you do, and you don't do the update, there's going to be another more important update down the road that's going to include this update anyway, and you're going to wind up getting this thing at some time whether you want it or not, right?
That's true. And I do, I say I don't do the upgrade immediately. As we talk, I Google search, and see problems with 9.3.4. And if I see 50 people lost their contacts or all their photos, then I know they haven't worked the bugs out. I'm going to wait. Anytime they push out these new versions, there's issues. I actually was going to download on their 5th version of the iOS 10 for developers. Mm-hmm. And they're saying they've worked all the problems out. And I almost downloaded the 4th version, but I didn't. And I did some research, and I found out that everybody that's using these cases, like the Mophie cases that have the built-in chargers, there was an incompatibility, and the phone would panic and freak out if you had one of those battery chargers attached to it, a Mophie case. So there's issues, but that iOS 10 is out for trial. I would not recommend it. I'm going to wait until September, make sure everything gets worked out. But I do recommend everybody does the 9.3.3, and if you're not planning on jailbreaking your device, do the 9.3.4. It's so important to do these upgrades because anytime there's a vulnerability, this is how Apple and the manufacturers update and protect you.
Let me ask you this. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so if you don't do these upgrades, eventually you're going to have some problems.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you this. What is the difference between Google and Google Chrome?
Well, Google Chrome is a browser. That is Google's, primary browser that they use. Apple has Safari. Google has Chrome. Windows has, they used to call it Explorer. I think they got a new one. But Google is basically Google, which is a huge, it's hard to, Google's like saying Apple.
Yeah.
Are you talking about iOS? You're talking about products? You're talking about laptops? You're talking about iPhones? You're talking about Apple TV? I mean, just to say Apple, it's like saying Google.
Yeah. The reason
Google's an operating system. It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. The reason I bring it up,
Google Chrome is the browser.
Yeah. The reason I bring it up is I got an email from Google today asking me to update to Google Chrome. Now I have Google.
I got it too. And I almost did it, but that link looked so suspicious that they wanted me to click on.
Well, I did it. And it looks like it's just a different face on the thing. But it did not replace the Google I already had. So, what I wound up doing is I didn't want them both, and I did a test on the Google Chrome, to look something up, and it worked just exactly the same way, as everything else. I just went ahead and eliminated the old one.
Yeah, I don't think there's any difference personally. I wasn't really sure, but I did get that same thing pushed through telling me I thought I was using Google Chrome the whole time. When I downloaded it, at first I was told it was Google Chrome, and now I got that thing saying, you need Google Chrome. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, what the heck have I been using for the last year?
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I keep, every time I get one of these things, I'm reminded, I think that I'm relatively intelligent until I get one of these emails and I start thinking, well, how stupid can I be?
Yeah, I'm not sure on that one, Robert. I got that same thing and it looked legit, but then when they pushed I clicked on it and it pushed this thing and it just kind of, I figured out, you know what, I'm going to wait till after the radio show and do some investigation. Well,
the dumb thing to me was I didn't give it any thought because generally, almost every day, my iPhone updates my apps, right? And I'm thinking, well, gee, if they've got this, why aren't they just automatically doing an update instead of this this new thing? Why are they sending me this link?
Why aren't they pushing it through automatically?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing. Yeah. But in any event, other stuff going on. MacBook Pro is finally talking about making a big change. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be this year. It'll probably be next year, but they're talking about revamping all of their laptops. We're speculating the new ones are going to be thinner. They'll probably have more graphics. They're talking about possibly including a Touch ID fingerprint sensor on the computer and maybe adding a touch screen strip that will replace the function keys. So that could be pretty exciting. It won't be happening again this year. It'll more than likely be next year. Apple's real slow when it comes to changes. They haven't done much. I think the last major thing they did was on the MacBook Pro in 2012 when they upgraded to that Retina display.
Well, I thought you were going to say the last thing they did was when they buried Steve Jobs.
Well, no, that was after they upgraded to the Retina display. But, and then we have a denial from Samsung denying that their mobile payment platform is insecure. There was some accusations the algorithm didn't operate as described. I haven't looked into it yet, but like I said, I'm not that comfortable right now with Google and the way they're handling these upgrades, and they're talking about leaving a lot of people out, hanging out to dry with these older versions of Google, and even Windows was still doing upgrades for XP recently.
Yeah, I just got one. Yeah, was it yesterday? I think it was when I turned on my computer. All of a sudden, it was saying, "Hey, wait, we're updating all of your." Or when I turned it on or off, I forget what it was. We're updating from Microsoft. It was a big update.
Yeah, and that's important, and that's one thing that Windows does right. They don't abandon people. Some companies abandon you because they want you to buy their new product or new software. So this is a huge problem, and we talked about this about a month ago. We were talking about the IoT, the Internet of Things,
right? And
how it sounds like such a good idea. We were talking about if you were going to buy I was in Lowe's or Home Depot or somewhere recently, and I had to buy a new thermostat, and I was looking at the Honeywell, like the one I had, that's 15 years old. It's got a little dial, and you put it on the temperature, and it stays there. And then I was looking at this new one made by a company, I think it was called Nest, and they were talking about how wonderful it is because it's programmable by your iPhone. It's on the Internet. You can control all kinds of functionality. But then I did some further research and found out that that was the first version of Nest, and since then they bought one of their competitors who had better software than they did, and they basically abandoned everybody with their first version and pushed out this new one. And that is the problem. You buy one. I replaced my thermostat, which I probably had for 15 years. Mm-hmm. So, these things generally last a while, and I'm envisioning that had I bought the Nest one, which was 3 times the cost, that in 5 years, let's say I have a problem, well, Nest may be out of business. Nest may not be supporting it. Google may not support it. There's tremendous costs, having these servers running, and there's lots of stuff going on that you assume is going to be there when you need it.
Well, sometimes, Joel, that KISS principle really works well.
Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
That's my philosophy.
Yeah.
And it's always been a good one. Keeping it stupid simple while we're speaking about that.
No, it's
to segue into the United States Marines.
Okay.
Not that they're stupid, but there's a new initiative. Apparently, one of the generals, Robert Neller, he's a commandant of the Marine Corps, said today that the Marines have gotten a little too comfortable with modern convenience and technology in a way that can prove a disaster on the battlefield. Mm-hmm. And he's saying that the Marines and the Navy have had exercises in which their personnel use of mobile devices can give away positions to adversaries. So This guy, I love his quote. His quote is, U.S. Marines need to put away their cell phones, forget about their fancy coffees, and get back to doing what Marines used to do. Dig a foxhole, cover up, stay quiet, and be wary.
You know what? It's interesting you would say that. I just today, I watched American Sniper. Are you familiar with American Sniper, the movie?
Yes.
You know, I've seen it a number of times. I think it's a great movie. And I was just looking at it today, and it boggles my mind how in the reality of what's going on in Iraq and overseas and everywhere else, you have guys in the midst of the battle, and at the same time they're on a satellite phone talking to their wives or their families. They're either on a satellite phone or they're on a cell phone. I mean, that's gotta be a dangerous thing to do if people are electronically trying to tag you, right?
Absolutely, and it's so easy, to be found, to monitor these things. It's a little nuts.
Yeah.
But in any event, so I thought that was kind of interesting.
Well, was it last week or the week before that, Joel, that I either read it or you told me about the government was gonna replace all of their phones with iPhones?
Yes, we did talk about that, and it was a security issue. But probably a good move. Like I said, the iPhones are more expensive, but they're worth it. They're bulletproof. They're easy. If there's a problem, it's going to get rectified. They're gonna push out the fix very quickly, and they're not going to point fingers. The problem we have with Google is Google's going to say, well, it's Qualcomm's issue or it's Motorola.
Yeah.
There are so many brands right now of Androids. It's actually quite crazy.
Now, when the government replaces all of these phones, these iPhones, they're not getting phones like you and I can buy, right? They're getting something special?
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. Apple doesn't do anything special. Apple's philosophy is they make one product and you get in line. You use it or you don't use it. And that's one of the benefits of Apple. It doesn't matter what carrier you're with. These days, pretty much all the Apple phones, Sprint still supports CDMA, Code Division Multiple Access. Their devices are primarily LTE, but they back up on CDMA. All the other carriers are 100% LTE, and Apple's making pretty much one device. They're putting 23 LTE frequencies in them, and they're telling the carriers, here's the phone, you want it or you don't. And the carriers have to take them because their customers want them. It's the day of the carriers telling the manufacturers, okay, well, we want you to remove Wi-Fi dialing, we don't want SIP trunking, they can no longer do that. Apple basically makes this phone and you get it the way they make it. If you don't want it, you don't take it.
Yeah. And you know what? It's sort of like In-N-Out Burger, right? What do they make? They make hamburgers.
Yes, and that's all they make, and they make them great.
Yeah.
So it's their specialty.
I didn't mean to give a plug to In-N-Out, but basically that was the analogy I wanted to draw.
Well, you know what? It's a funny thing you mentioned that, because I have lots of friends who travel around the world, and one of the first things they do when they come back is they make that stop at In-N-Out on the way back from the airport.
Yeah, you know what?
So,
yeah, absolutely. And it's really, it's not rocket science. It's a pretty simple hamburger, just any way you want it, and it's got a great taste, and it's inexpensive. It's not like going to Carl's Jr. for that $7 or $8 hamburger.
Well, here's what I do, just so you know, not to plug In-N-Out. I don't work for them, and I rarely eat burgers. But when I do, I will go in there and I will ask them for a medium rare animal style, single with no cheese. And I think it's about $2.25 or $2.50. It's under $3. It's delicious. You can, like I said, you can have them rare, medium rare. You can tell them how you want it.
Oh, yeah.
We'll cook it to your order. And I tell them animal style, which I believe, I'm not sure, but I believe that means they put mustard on one side when they cook it. They cook the mustard in it, and I think they put grilled onions or something on it.
Oh.
In any case, for under $3, it's a heck of a good burger.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Hey, listen, we got to take a break. What are we going to talk about when we come back?
We got lots of stuff. We're going to talk more about this hack. We're going to talk a little bit about T-Mobile's promotions and what Verizon's doing, and some really good deals out there.
Okay, we'll be right back with our own Dr. Wireless, Joel Saltzman, after these brief messages. Don't go away. We've got a lot of great show and a lot of wonderful information for you.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make The Interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios, Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39. A complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 4:23 p.m. Pacific time. God, it's getting hotter. It's 92 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. If you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you happen to be in Madrid, Spain, well, it's 68 degrees and clear. In Tokyo, Japan, 81 degrees and a little bit of clouds. But there's no clouds over the head of our own Dr. Wireless, Joel Saltzman. Joel, you've got the microphone, my friend.
We're clear as a bell out here today, Robert, and loving life.
Yeah, and listen, so does that mean after the show you're going to put your swim trunks on, grab your board, and go out to the water?
Well, you know what? It's been flat as a, well, I don't want to say. Let's just say flat as a board.
you mean it's sort of like Pirate's Heaven, right?
Yes. Anyhow, what we were talking about is this. We wanted to go back to this because this is, I'm sure there's some people out there with Android that are scared, and they should be. because, as I mentioned, Google throws nearly 1 billion Android users under the bus by refusing to patch older OS vulnerability. And the problem we have is this, as we mentioned, Windows is great. They go back all the way to XP, which is, 5 years old? The big problem that Google has is, I don't know if you remember Jelly Bean. They've got the stupidest names. I don't know who names these things, but anything from 4.3 Android, which was Jelly Bean, to before that, which we're only talking 14 months back. We're not talking 5 years. Google has been aggressive, patching problems on their WebView rendering engine for all the new stuff. But anything before KitKat, which was Android 4.4, these folks are going to be in trouble. And here's the problem. There's a security firm called Rapid7, and they discovered this new exploit in the Android browser version of WebView. So they contacted Google to let them know that Android 4.3 and below were vulnerable to this issue. Google's response and policy change are raising major eyebrows. Specifically, the company stated, if the affected version of WebView is before 4.4, we generally do not develop the patches ourselves, but we welcome patches with the report for consideration. So basically what they're saying is, we're not going to do it. You know, if you're an equipment manufacturer of ours and your device is impacted and you want to develop something, we'll give it consideration, but they're not going to build the patch. And if I was an Android owner hearing this, it'd be enough for me to go out and want to get an iPhone.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, what they're doing is, in essence, they're telling their user community, sorry, you got to tell Samsung, LG, Motorola, all of these brands that, you know, to provide you with an updated version of our operating system. And that's hilariously impossible. You know, never going to happen.
How do they expect to keep any kind of customer loyalty if they are not loyal to the customer?
Well, they're not. And what's going to happen is, as soon as this thing gets out and people start hearing about this, they are going to seriously consider whether they want to go with Android. So it's silly. But the thing is, there are so many manufacturers of Android that it's unbelievable. I mean, I don't know if you're aware of it, but HTC, Huawei, LG, Motorola, Samsung, Sony, Xiaomi, Blue, Lenovo, BlackBerry, Asus, OnePlus. I mean, that's almost a dozen, and there may be more. But now you can see the complexities when you've got this many companies making product, and they're putting their own bloatware usually on the product, plus Google's iOS, you know, versus Apple, who makes their own equipment, makes their own iOS. It's a lot easier for Apple to come up with a fix when there's a problem.
Yeah.
So these are things that people are going to have to really be cognizant of, you know, when they're going out to buy phones. And this is probably one of the reasons why iPhones cost almost double what the comparable Android would cost.
Yeah, but you know what? You save that in peace of mind and frustration, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And security, I should have said, too.
Yes. So anyhow, and again, anybody who's concerned about this security stuff, I have all of this on our website. I have it on our blog, www.drwireless.com. Click on the blog. We have it on our Facebook page, Facebook/drwireless. It's pretty important stuff. But let's talk about something a little more pleasant.
Well, I've been enjoying all of this so far.
Well, that's because you're an Apple user. If you're an Android user, you wouldn't be. Well, let's talk about rates. We had hit on a couple weeks ago how finally Verizon was paying attention to T-Mobile. Verizon never used to react to T-Mobile. T-Mobile might get Sprint to react, and on a good day, maybe AT&T would react, but Verizon will always look down, and, you know, they're a second-tier carrier, we don't need to compete. Well, times have changed. And it's amazing, but Verizon has gotten much more competitive. We talked about some of the things that T-Mobile did, and it's funny how we're starting to see Verizon emulate them. You've heard about the Un-carrier initiatives T-Mobile started like 4 years ago. They dumped the 2-year contract in favor of month-to-month. Well, everybody's done that. They utilize throttling to eliminate data overage costs. Verizon and AT&T bagged on them mercilessly for doing that. Who would want their speed slowed down? All of this. Well, hey, I'd rather have slower speeds than get charged $15 a gigabyte for overage. So now Verizon has adopted this, which is funny. Voice over IP, Wi-Fi dialing. T-Mobile's had it 7 years. Guess what? Everybody else has it now, including Verizon. Free Canada and Mexico calling and roaming. Guess what? T-Mobile introduced this. Verizon has it now. Carryover data. T-Mobile introduced this. AT&T's got it. Verizon's got it. Interesting thing is, they'll say, oh, well, we're doing this, but they don't tell you they're doing it for 1 month. They're not doing it until December 31st, till the end of the year. So what that means is in January, if you had a 2 gig plan and you use 1 gig, it means you got 3 gigs for February. If you use 1 gig, you've got 4 gigs for the fall. It builds up, it builds up, it builds up, and they wipe you at the end of the year. With the other carriers, you carry it over for 1 month and then they wipe it.
Yeah.
Better than nothing, but T-Mobile's still a little better deal. So they haven't done the binge on thing yet. Binge on is T-Mobile. They're offering over 100 content providers, streaming video and audio, that don't count against your data allocation, which is fantastic. Verizon has Go 90. They have one provider where you're not using your data allocation when you're looking at their provider. T-Mobile, free streaming music, doesn't use your 4G. T-Mobile was the first carrier to buy out other carriers' contracts. They're all doing that. So the good news is Verizon is way more competitive than they ever were. The bad news is to get all of this stuff that T-Mobile's offering on every single plan, regardless of cost. In Verizon's case, there's often a $5 per month per line charge or a $2 per month. A lot of this stuff is a la carte unless you get to their XL or XXL plans or 12 gig or higher plans. But point is, they are getting more competitive. They are reacting to T-Mobile. That's a win-win for all consumers.
Well, you know what? It just seems like even the big guys, and I don't mean to call T-Mobile a small guy, but even the big guys are having to kneel and succumb to the marketing that T-Mobile has actually set out.
T-Mobile is leading the industry, and AT&T and Verizon may not want to admit it, but it's the truth.
Yeah, there's
no question. Anyhow, we talked about Apple. They just released their 5th version of iOS 10. This is a developer version, and it's going to be interesting to see exactly what it does. I've read some things. I'm not 100% sure what it does. It's supposed to work with the new Watch iOS, the Watch OS 3. It's supposed to work with their new TV. We'll have to see what else it does.
When they
not
send,
real clear.
When they send you a beta thing like that, they don't tell you what has been changed?
They give you an idea, and if you had an extra iPhone laying around, I could download this new iOS 10 on it. I wouldn't do it on your primary device.
Yeah.
Because you never know. Did you hear that Google's getting a lot of heat right now? They're being accused of deleting Palestine.
Oh, yes, I think I read that, yeah.
Condemnation leads to outrage about Google removing country from map. But the country was never on the map. So I don't know what these people are complaining about.
Yeah.
And when you're a map maker, it's got to be very difficult, because boundaries change. I don't know what they did with the Ukraine and Crimea, but it must be really difficult to make maps these days.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, you know what? maybe not as difficult as it was at one time, because now with all the computers, they just kind of move the lines, right?
Yeah, I think so. Good news from Microsoft. They've just figured out a new way, how they can use cloud servers to swap encrypted data. So they can move encrypted data between clouds and keep it encrypted without having to unencrypt it when they bring it down and move it back. So that could be interesting.
Yeah.
You know who Alexa is?
No.
You know who Siri is?
Yes.
And you know who Cortana is?
Yes.
Alexa is Amazon's assistant, secretary, you could call her. So she's Amazon's version of Siri. And it looks like she's teamed up with BMW. So I think you're going to be able to talk to your BMW real soon.
Yeah, so if you're a Beamer driver, you're going to need to sync all that stuff, right?
Yeah. And that's another issue. People need to be very careful. I have a 2015 car, and anybody with a car where you push the button to start it instead of having to stick the key in, which takes a little getting used to, but if you have one of these cars that is, an Internet of Things car, as mine is, there is a lot of stuff that syncs with the Internet. You have to be very careful, because if your car gets hacked, we talked about this, people on the freeway and having their cars, turned off or having the brakes applied, or there's weird stuff that can be done. But I noticed this the other day, and I don't know, maybe I enabled something inadvertently, but I have a Subaru, and I've got this big screen, where I have all my maps, where you have the GPS and the radio and all that. It's a big screen. The other day, I noticed I was listening to the music, and then my music went off, and I saw a text message, and it said read. And I'm thinking, well, I probably shouldn't be reading text messages while I'm driving, but what the heck is going on here? So I clicked read, expecting that it was going to show me text, and the car is audibly reading me a text message.
Oh, really?
And I'm thinking, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
What did I do to enable this? So I now get, text via speech over my car, plays through my stereo system when somebody leaves me a text message, and I get a prompt, read. If I hit read on the screen, it's going to read it to me. I thought I had to read it, but somebody's reading it to me.
I think that's great.
So I thought that was a pretty neat feature.
That's you know what? It excites you about what the future is going to hold for. I mean, if the cars are going to drive themselves, why not have them, tell you stories too?
Exactly.
Hey, listen, my friend.
Did you hear about the FCC, Robert, getting turned down? They wanted to. They had a plan to let cities build their own broadband networks.
Oh no, I didn't hear about this.
Federal appellate court ruled that the FCC is overstepping its authority. So they're saying that they're not able to remove state laws that prevent the construction of municipal broadband networks, as they attempted to do, I guess, in Carolina, Chattanooga, and Tennessee. So apparently, it looks like it's not going to happen.
Well, you know what? You have to ask yourself where that's going to lead, right?
You never know.
Yeah.
You do.
Hey, listen, give out some contact information. We have to part ways until next Wednesday.
I hate when that happens, but everything we talked about today, I have on our website, www.drwireless.com. I have this stuff also on our blog, drwireless.com/blog. And I also have this stuff on our Facebook page, which is Facebook/DR Wireless. Anybody with any questions can contact me at joel@drwireless.com. And for your users, I will give a 30-minute free consultation regarding any of this stuff.
That is fantastic. In the meantime, go out and make it a great week, my friend. Stay safe, stay healthy. Make everybody around you glad that they know you.
Likewise, Robert, in regards to your grandson, Joey.
Oh, thank you very much. And for the rest of you folks, do not go away. When we come back, we're going to be doing the birthdays for the day, the secret daily teaching for your life, the Harvard business tip of the day, and interesting but useless facts. And then after that, we'll do our tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. Today's story is the goat herd who made it to the dictionary. I'll tell you all about those things right after these brief messages. Do not go away. Got a lot of great show for you.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Lineberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchase high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you.
And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. Well, we're coming down to the wire here, and I want you to know that at 4:43 p.m. Pacific time, it is still 92 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. Well, if you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network, you happen to be in Auckland, New Zealand, it's 57 degrees and scattered clouds. And if you happen to be in Hong Kong, well, it's 79 degrees and it is clear. But right now, I want to talk about the Harvard business tip of the day. And the tip today is what to do when your boss keeps changing. Yeah, well, you know what? If you work at an organization where constant reshufflings are the norm, you may find yourself with a new boss every few months. Now, here are some coping strategies for that. First off, introduce yourself. Each time a new manager is appointed, you need to schedule a one-on-one meeting with them and bring a copy of your resume. Talk Talk about your working style, your strengths, and your goals. And then be accommodating. Ask your boss how they like to communicate, how often they want a status updates, and how much detail they want in those updates. Then adapt your style. Well, how about focusing on learning? Try to look at the prospect of a new boss as an opportunity to learn. Ask yourself, what can this person teach me? I can tell you personal experience, that's invaluable. And check your attitude. You bet. A new boss to get accustomed to is a challenge. But make sure you're not wearing your annoyance on your sleeve. Channel your energy into making positive contributions to your organization. That is what you got to do. That's how you get along. That's just the only way you can actually do these things. But now let's talk about the secret daily teaching for your life. This is all about a positive mental attitude. Yeah, you've heard me say that many, many times, and you are in control, total control of a positive mental attitude. You know what? When you get up in the morning, you look in the mirror, you just say, you know what? I'm going to have a fantastic, productive, profitable day today. Because you decide if you're going to be happy or sad, rich or poor, if you're going to be, make people around you happy. You know, that's going to be everything. Whether you're going to be a success or a failure, it's really all up to you and your mental attitude. Well, you know what our teaching for today is? Here's the deal. The dictionary defines blessing as invoking divine favor and conferring well-being or prosperity. So begin right now to invoke the power of blessing in your life and bless everything and everyone. Likewise with praising, for when you are praising someone or something, you're giving love, and as you emit that magnificent frequency, it'll return to you 100-fold. Yeah? They also call that, you heard it, a positive mental attitude. That's the way it is. Well, you know what today is. Sure you do. It's Wednesday. It's August the 10th, and it is absolutely somebody's birthday. Well, we've got 4 birthdays. Actually, we've got 3 birthdays for you today. And you know what? Depending on how old you are, you're either going to know who they are or you're not going to know who they are. So let's get right to it. Now, this fella was born in 1856, died in 1915, so I'm guessing you probably don't know him. An English builder and a tireless promoter of daylight savings time. Yep. Happy birthday, William Willett. And here's a fellow born in 1909, died in 1991, a luthier, Greek-American inventor who founded Fender Electric Instrument Manufacturing Company. Yep, Fender Guitars. Happy birthday, Leo Fender. And then finally, here's a guy that was born in 1928, a country music singer, television host, actor, and businessman, best known today as the founder of Jimmy Dean Food Company. Happy birthday to the late Jimmy Dean. Well, let's talk about what happened today in history. On August the 10th, 1776, American Revolutionary War, word of the United States Declaration of Independence reaches London. And in 1948, Candid Camera makes its television debut after being on radio for a year as Candid Microphone. And that was a very, very popular show. And then finally, in 1995, Oklahoma City bombing, Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols are indicted for the bombing. Michael Fortier pleads guilty in a plea bargain agreement for his testimony. Well, let's get to the quote for today, and the quote for today comes from Jeff Bezos, and Jeff says, it's harder to be kind than clever. Now that, my friends, is an absolute fact. Well, let's talk about those interesting but useless facts. We've got a little bit of time here, so you know what? The average rikishi tips the scales at about 280 pounds. But in 1988, the heaviest sumo wrestler ever recorded weighed in at a thundering, get this, 560 pounds. Boy, how'd you like that bumping up against you? And tigers that breed with lions give birth to hybrids known as tigans and ligers. Yep. Well, give that a thought. And the onion is a lily botanically. Well, give that some thought. I do love onions, by the way, but I don't go around smelling them like that unless I'm cooking. You know that the exact geographic center of the United States is near Lebanon, Kansas. Here, there you go. And one can see the stars during the day from the bottom of a well. Yes, because you don't have the light getting in the way. Well, let me give you one more. Did you know that it is impossible to sneeze with your eyes open? Give that some thought. Now, do not go away, because when we come back, we're going to do our tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey in the rest of the story. And today's story is the goat herd who made it to the dictionary. I'll tell you all about that right after these brief messages. Do not go away.
Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make The Interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39, a complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're coming down to the wire at 4:53 p.m. Pacific time. Still 92 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. And if you're listening to us on our globally syndicated network and you happen to be in Sydney, Australia, well, it is 81 and it is clear. And if you're in Lisbon, Portugal, it's also 81 and it's clear. But right now, let's get to what you've been waiting for. Yes, sir. It's time for our tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. You know what? Paul was the biggest and best voice in America, revealing the startling heartbeats behind the headlines. Paul Harvey is one of America's favorite radio and TV commentators, heard over 775 ABC radio stations and over 400 foreign stations, seen on 110 television stations, read in 300 newspapers. He was a recipient of numerous awards and honors, including 9 honorary degrees. He was on the Gallup's poll list of America's most admired man. What a phenomenal man he was. Well, in tribute to Paul, we're going to do the goat herd who made it to the dictionary. You know what? Caesar's mother adored her son's hands, how beautifully made they were. She always say, surely young Caesar would some days become an artist. After all, there'd been a painter in the family generations before and an altar carver. But alas, most of Caesar's ancestors were goat herds, and his father was a goat herd. So the boy with the hands of an artist became instead a herder of goats. Caesar lived in a tiny Swiss village of fewer than 200 people, the 13th child of a peasant couple. His father, Anton, owned a few cows and goats, and in the summer, when school was out, Caesar helped Papa herd them. Well, Mom and Papa disagreed over furthering Caesar's education. Papa said it would be a waste of time. Mama was ambitious for her children. Caesar himself did not know what he wanted to do. Would you not like to be an artist or an engineer, she asked him. Well, Caesar said he preferred herding the goats. That was 2-1 against Mama. But Mama won. When he was 12, Caesar was sent to Sion. There he would learn French and mathematics. At the end of 3 years, he had not learned French or mathematics, and he still preferred herding goats. Now, Papa Anton was very upset. Perhaps Caesar should have a chance at life beyond their little home, cradled up against the mountains. So, Papa wrote to a friend who owned a hotel in a nearby town. He sent along 300 francs in a plea to give his young son a job. The friend wrote back, and the deal was settled. Caesar became an apprentice wine waiter at the hotel. At first, the boy was eager to learn. He tried his very best, but somehow he just couldn't get the hang of it. And it frustrated him. It frustrated him so much that he began dropping wine corks in the client's soup, bumping into and knocking over whole trays of crudités, the raw vegetables he served as appetizers. The hotel manager became frustrated. Then he became angry. Then he gave up. At last, he called young Caesar into his office and gave him the facts straight out. Boy, he said, I'm quite fond of your father, but there is a point at which friendship ceases. I told him I'd give you a try, and I gave you a try, but now I must give you a piece of advice, and I hope that you'll listen. Go back to your papa, go back to your goat herds, and be happy in the life that you were meant to live. Well, you will never make anything of yourself in the hotel business. It requires a special flair, and I must tell you the truth. You do not have it. Well, Caesar managed to stifle the tears until he left the manager's office. For the first time in his whole young life, he'd failed at something he really wanted to do. And now he was faced with the prospect of returning home and disappointing his hopeful parents. Caesar did not return home, so there is the rest of the story. He'd been dismissed from his job as a hotel waiter, but he was too proud to admit defeat. Instead, he went to Paris, and from there went on and on, one day to see his name in the dictionary. Yes, Caesar had been told most emphatically that he would never make anything of himself in the hotel business. But for almost 100 years, the hotel business has been trying to live up to him. He began as a herder of goats, nothing more, yet lived to see the world's most elegant hotels wear his simple peasant name. That name is engraved in gold and enshrined in the dictionary as a 4-letter synonym for elegance. Anything so labeled is the ultimate in refined opulence. To this day, the world tips its hat at the very mention of the family name of Caesar, Ritz. And now you know the rest of the story. Wasn't that fantastic? Well, tomorrow, make sure you tune in for our tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey. We've got another great story for you. It's called Escape. Now, I'm not going to tell you anything about it. I'm just going to tell you that is called Escape. We've got a great show scheduled for you. Now, I want you to know that on our show tomorrow, we'll have Sean LaFave here. Sean and I are going to be talking about GMOs, that's genetically modified organisms, on the Geared for Wellness Corner. And then I'm going to continue our tribute to the late, great Paul Harvey, as I mentioned before, with the rest of the story. I want you to please tell all your friends about our show here on the RLC Broadcasting Network. You can get it on YouTube. You can get it on Podomatic. You can get it on Streaker. You can get it all over the place, and we encourage you to do all that, and also get it on our app, as we mentioned before. It's absolutely free.
That's our show for today. Beginning today, treat everyone you meet as if they were going to be dead by midnight. Extend them all the care, kindness, and understanding that you can muster. Your life will never be the same again. So many of our dreams at first seem impossible, then they seem improbable, and then when we summon the will, they soon become inevitable. You know, the real secret of happiness is to make others believe that they're the cause of it. Robert Cardoza Live is brought to you by blogtalkradio.com every Monday through Friday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Now, go out and make it a great day. Your host has been Robert Cardoza, the technical advisor, Matchstick Digital, and your executive producer, also Robert Cardoza.